Hi everyone and welcome back. Whoa, what did you do then?
I just timed it perfectly.
Threw me off. You fanny. I don't trust you now. It's not like what you are. Hi everyone and welcome back to Farrand Film. I did that really quick then because I don't trust him. He fluffed me up before. Right, we're back. It's the last one. It's the last of the Last of Us.
I wanted to say it, the last of the Last of Us.
Oh,
Oh, you
here
got
we
there
are.
first.
I stole it
Yeah,
from
that's the
you.
karmic justice for ruining his intro the first
It
day.
is, you swine.
Are you going to bother editing that out, or you can keep that bad boy in?
The fluffed intro.
Yeah, fluff intro.
I might leave it in. I don't know. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? I feel like we've mentioned it enough now that maybe I should leave it in.
Yeah, even without context, we know what we're
Like,
talking
yeah.
about. Especially in
And
India, where our biggest fan base is.
yes, I was at a Q&A for a film called Rye Lane on Friday, right? And one of the people in the audience said, "Can you tell us about a good blooper?" And the director and one of the cast looked at each other and said, "Oh, there is that good one, but we can't talk about it." And then at which point somebody else went, "We've got to talk about it now." So I feel like we've just kind of done that. Like
Yeah.
you've got to put it in
We've done
now.
it in reverse. We've kind of overhyped how good it was at the beginning, and people
You will
will just be
already
like,
know.
"Yeah, why are you still talking about it? Just crack on with the episode."
Crack on. So the last of the Last of Us. I've dressed accordingly with my nice Firefly t-shirt.
That is
I got
sick.
I got from Redbubble.
Oh
I
god,
was
they won't stop emailing me. I got one gift for a Secret Santa, and they do not stop emailing. I got my bike enthusiast head of department a mug that said "Cycle Path."
nice, nice.
Mm. So that
Good
was fun.
fun. Good play on words. Yeah,
Yeah, good play on
yeah.
words. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just start at the start because you know what was back in this episode, Oliver. What was back in
The
this
cold
episode? We
intro.
had a cold open.
We had a cold
Oh,
open.
it's
It's only
chilly
like
here. There's a
what
cold
a
open.
third of the episodes actually having a cold open at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
You know that thing that I said from the get go, because I listened back to some of the older ones. It's like, oh, I really hope they do this from now on. And you were clearly sat there like they will never do this again, like right up until the very end. But what a cold open.
I mean, just so we had Anna is her name, but she's played by Ashley Johnson, who is OG Ellie,
OG Ellie, which
and
I love Ashley Johnson, but it's very disconcerting to hear what is ostensibly a child's voice from from what is
I mean,
clearly a woman.
every time she spoke, every time she made even like a slight sort of like grunt noise, I was like,
Mm.
"That's Ellie, that's Ellie, that's Ellie."
Well,
That's...
much to my chagrin, Georgia was in and out of the room for it, and I don't mind her, coming in and out while I'm trying to watch something. I'm not like get
How
where you belong. It was
how
more.
very dare you?
It's more. I don't want anything being spoiled for her.
Yeah, fair enough.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure she clocked immediately. She was like, "Is that OGLE?" Because it looks like her.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Oh, so
Yeah.
did she just do the voice?" No, no, mocap. Ah,
Mocap.
that explains why she looks so much like her. So she clocked that. But yeah, obvious. Like she's got the knife.
Yeah.
Once again, people not feeling getting bitten, which for once it's actually acceptable because she's in the throes of labor,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
it were.
As a person with probably more medicinal background than myself,
Mm.
um, is the I didn't cut the I cut the umbilical cord after I was bitten. Well, before she was bitten, she said, didn't she? But
Uh, I mean,
obviously, she did it as she was bitten
the
or when she was
it
bitten.
depends when she got bitten, but
Yeah.
realistically, the blood will because the blood doesn't mix. It's like they don't have the same blood. It's just the two. Baby has its own blood from mum because baby and mum could have different blood types.
Right. Okay.
So if the blood literally mixed, it could kill the baby in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So there would like in the time given, sure.
So is
And it
this a
also
believable sort of? This explains how Ellie.
and it kind of harkens back like we spoke about last week of that idea of, Blade. The
Yeah.
reason he is slightly different in his mutation is because his mom was attacked by a vampire while she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And quite heavily pregnant as well. So there is Yeah, it's that idea of being exposed to it, but at a very low level,
Mm.
and your body having that. Like, what doesn't make an awful lot of sense though is the fact that it's a newborn, and newborns, by definition, do not have an immune system.
Right. Okay.
But it's, I've already said, like, an actual cordyceps fungus isn't gonna infect people.
Mm.
So you're already suspending your disbelief in that sense. So the idea that, yeah, that a very, very low level interaction like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how Marlene described it as well later on, which we'll get to. I don't know if you've made a note on it, but the way he described it, it's like, yeah, I buy that.
Not
I think, yeah,
specifically, no.
yeah, I think it does. I think it actually does a better job because I know this game doesn't really explain why she's immune. It
Yeah,
just
it
says
never
she
the
is,
game never goes into it really.
which is fine.
Yeah.
But because this one does, I think it explains that scene between Marlene and Joel in the hospital, the first one, which we'll get
Yeah.
to, that ends up explaining it better
Yeah.
almost than I think the
Yeah.
game does. It's like, oh yeah, that makes way more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Because
Um,
yeah, just so I think we've kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but
we'll come back. Don't worry. I just
yeah.
like I
So
didn't want to.
basically, what happens is we see this woman Anna. She's heavily pregnant. She's running through a forest. She gets into a house. Now, the house to me is very Ellie and Dina in part two, or like a later part of part two, really
I was
towards
about
the
to
end of
say
part
like it
two.
doesn't ring a bell for me because I'm only up to dun dun dun. Dina's pregnant is how far I
Ah,
am.
yeah,
So
no, it's very. They essentially end up living in a house that looks like that in the middle of a field, and it's
do you reckon
very
it's
kind of
meant
like
to be that, and it's meant to be like, oh my god, circles?
maybe.
Because that was a
Um,
little bit, oh god, Ellie's knife came from a mom. Like, did that need luring or
yeah,
like it was
um,
cute? It was a nice Easter egg, but the same, it was just it. Like
yeah.
Star Wars went through a bit of a thing of everything has a destiny almost.
Everything had to link to whatever else you
Yeah,
did.
and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that's
yeah,
unnecessary. Ellie just had a knife that didn't break and never gave it to Joel, and he had
yeah,
shivs that broke after 3 hits at best.
yeah.
Get better at making shivs, Joel.
Well, um, so the creature breaks in, bites Anna as she gives birth to Ellie. Sometime later, they're found by Marlene and a group of fireflies. Anna asks Marlene to kill her, take Ellie back to Boston, look after her. Marlene hesitates, but then eventually does go and kill Anna.
And in the meantime, we must. I think it's worth noting. It's the last Zombo that we see in this
Oh
series.
yeah,
That's the last one we see, and I think I could have done with more. I get why
people
they
seem to
didn't.
have sort of found issue with the fact that there's not many.
I
Or
think you could
hasn't
have
been
even
many.
had. I don't know what point they missed out. Maybe spending longer in the university rather than tailing that on the end. But
Mm,
if that was its own episode, that could have been another zombie heavy episode, and you could have had like a fight against a bloater, which would have been quite interesting.
yeah.
And you could have had because I know was it your brother-in-law who wanted Joel hanging upside down?
He did indeed. He did indeed.
Like you
Uh,
could have had an opportunity for that there, and yeah,
'Cause I think even with part two, like it's going to be weird in that there's so many different types in part two that they kind of introduce. So like you get your bloaters, but then
hmm.
there's the shamblers, there's obviously the Rat King that happens. Like, are you gonna throw all this in? Like I feel like that's the kind of season that when we get there, if you end up leaving stuff out, you're just gonna wind people up. You're just gonna
They
like
haven't left. The only thing you could probably argue they have left out is the stalkers rather than the standard infected. But even then, like I don't know, like I don't think like everything as far as I'm aware, that is present in one is present in two. There's just less There's just less of the actual infected,
yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
which is
I,
which is a shame because like when they show it, it's great. When you got those like close-ups of the clickers, they were incredible, and I feel like they could have been shown off a lot more. And it's just a shame that they weren't, and you didn't see because there's even like the early stage infected. You've got like the odd bit of mushroom on them, but they're effectively
mm,
it's people in contact lenses acting a bit
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
you could have done that relatively easily. But Yeah, it's just it's
I'd,
nitpicky.
it is a nitpick, I think, because
Hmm.
like I keep saying, like I'm more interested in the horror of people that it ends up being more. How are they doing? Like David last week, like how
Yeah,
was
sure.
this completely?
And this was better for example because of like me and George were like we was comparing it to Walking Dead. I was like, yeah, I get that, but Walking Dead is a lot more like silly comic book
Yeah,
with their
yeah,
horrors of people. You've got the governor who like has an eye patch and whatever. You've got that random guy with tigers and like they're
yeah,
very caricaturous characters, whereas The Last of Us is horrific people are much more grounded
yeah, 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 yeah.
and were all the worse for it. David is more scary than anything we see in bloody Walking Dead.
Hmm.
I'll die on that. I say I'll die on that hill. I don't think I'll die because I won't lose. Like, that's not a final stand. That's
Yeah,
just a fortified, strong position of David is much, much worse than anything we get
yeah,
from The Walking Dead.
definitely.
Categorically. Oh,
Uh, um,
freaky boy. But yeah, like, and is that thing in the games as well? Because like they do establish that Marlene and Ellie certainly have more of a history than Ellie and Joel.
I'm sure they mentioned something, but it's very brief because I feel like I'm wondering if I'm mixing it up with the first episode where Marlene says something like, "I knew a family" or "I knew a mother" or something like
Mm.
that. I don't think it's explicit in the game as it has been in the series.
But you did get the impression that like because obviously you didn't get that bit where she's locked to a radiator or whatever. You did get the impression that
Yeah,
Marlene and Ellie had known each other for years
yeah,
in
yeah,
the game.
yeah. Um, so we move forward, present day. They're in Salt Lake. Ellie's quite distant because of the
Oh,
events
that
of
was heartbreaking.
yeah,
So broken.
because of the events of last week and everything with David and all that kind of stuff. Joel's just trying to sort of get her on side with a bit of Chef
I think this is,
Boyardee.
and this was the advantage of it being a series rather than a video game. Because I think with the game, obviously at that point, you're the over the shoulder of Joel perspective.
Mm,
So you're missing out on a lot of the things that are making obvious. Like, whereas this decided to focus on Ellie.
yeah, I
And
think my brother-in-law has just finished watching it, so he's just sent me a thing saying it's over with a gif of Chandler looking out the window when it's raining. So I think he's just finished the episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
but just
Um.
it was so sweet seeing Joel trying that hard,
Oh
and
yeah, and like here's a game of Boggle. I loved
yeah,
how he said Boggle. He's like Bargle,
Boggle.
Bargle.
That's not like Pedro has like a really subtle accent, like because Texas isn't always like, you know, I sell propane and propane accessory. It isn't always that drawly a
That
Texan
lilt
accent.
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get plenty of people who do talk like that. It's like, is that right? Like, kind of like Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all
All
right.
right. All right. All right.
But you get people who do talk like that genuinely, but a lot of Texans have quite neutral accents. And my
Yeah.
favorite thing is Pedro is neutral until he isn't. He gets the odd word where it's almost like, oh Christ, I'm meant to be from Texas. Supplies.
Yeah. Boggle.
Boggle, yeah. Boggle is a horrible word to try. It's a very English word, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
Boggle.
like when you hear an American say bloody hell,
Oh yeah.
just doesn't sound right, does it? Like,
No,
oh,
not
bloody
at
hell.
all.
No, doesn't work.
Um, the giraffe.
Was that real?
Right. So this is the thing. I've seen this online that people are sort of going, "Was that giraffe real?" Parts of the giraffe were real in that the close-up bit where
They
it's eating the
decapitated
leaves,
a
they
giraffe.
decapitated it and they just chucked it at them. The close-up bits where it's eating out of Ellie's hands and stuff like that
Yeah.
is all real, actual giraffe. Because
Jeez.
again, this was when I watched it for the first time, I had all the unfinished CGI. So
Yeah.
it went from weird computer shape to then actual giraffe head eating with a lot of blue screen behind it. And then the bit where the giraffe just walks off and Ellie goes, "Oh, where's she going?" That was like a guy in a blue suit sort of just walking. No
That
way.
was one of the most impressive bits to see. And that was a bit as well. Georgia was so. I think it was just before that. It was as they were kind of walking along in the streets. I
Yeah.
think it was as they were on the highway. As Joel's trying to get, and Georgia was like, "Oh my god!" Like, I'm not sure if she could quite put a finger on it, but I knew what she meant as she was saying. She was like, "It looks like a video game."
Yeah.
Have they done that
Yeah.
deliberately? Because that's really good. And she kept on
Yeah.
looking at it. It's like, no, that's really good.
Yeah.
And like that's just from this random out of context shot with very little going on, and she doesn't know anything about the characters at this
Yeah, no,
point.
I'm so glad they got it in. I'm so glad they put that bit in. And
The
then they
giraffe
went, yeah, because
can't beat that view again.
it's such a nice scene, and it gives Ellie a sort of perspective a little bit, and Joel kind of sees her just laughing, and then like at that point, I mean, the the one that got me was Joel admitting that he was the one who shot and missed.
Was that in the game? Because I do
I
not
don't
remember.
think so.
That
I
was a
don't think
great
so.
addition because
Yeah,
especially if what comes later,
yeah,
that makes that so much more understandable and like it make like it won't for Georgia. I know what side of that argument Georgia will fall down on. Very, very much so.
I'm
Um,
intrigued to see where Amy's gonna fall on it. Yeah,
yeah, but and I even with that I know where she's going to fall. But like I've always been firmly, I think I know where you fall, and I think I'm the other way.
yeah.
But that made me think, oh god damn it, that's really clever to include that because now I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's wrong, but I get it.
Like I wish I'd written down that specific bit of dialogue where like Ellie sort of says to him, "How do you?" Is it something like, "How do you carry on? How do you?" And he sort of says, "I thought I'd figured it out, but then I realized that I hadn't," or something. And it's like a sort of an allusion to him and his relationship with Ellie, and that he sort of
Yeah,
found
and that
another
moment
way to
where
carry on.
he's like, she mentions like, well, I guess time heals all wounds,
Yes, yeah,
and he looks it dead in the face, looking like he wants to cry, and goes, "It wasn't time."
yeah, yeah. And
And
that point,
it's so powerful.
yeah, it was like you can see the sort of expression in Bella's face
Mm.
where like she's just like, "Oh, you mean me? You mean
Because again, like it's one thing I remember from the games, and I remember really liking it. Is that point where Joel is openly talking about Sarah,
yeah, yeah,
and Ellie's asking questions without like having to tiptoe around it. Like
yeah,
they are just open. He's dealing with it a lot better now and a
mm,
lot healthier, which is really nice.
yeah."
Um, they just arrive at the hospital in the game, though, don't they? They don't get.
No, they just arrive. I don't think they end up with anything taken off them. Oh no, actually no. There is a bit where they get separated for one thing or another, I think.
Mm,
Because obviously then that's how Ellie ends up going into the operating studio and how studio theater
yeah.
and how Joel ends up with very minimal guns with him because it ends
Mm,
up being a bit of a sort of scrappy. You need to grab that gun off that guy that you've just killed. You need to grab that gun off that. And I like how video gamey that sequence felt in the episode.
yeah.
In the so basically, they get attacked by fireflies. Um,
Flash bung.
Really interesting though, and I only spotted this time watching it because obviously I was watching it on like my telly and stuff like that. Is that the bit where you can see the guy sort of
Mm,
creeping up on him and stuff, and then chucking it, rather than it just being a random flashbang. It's like you
mm.
can see them being snuck up on, Um, so this is the part of the go
Well,
on.
you get that element as well of oh, you're lost in their conversation, so they're so lost in their conversation because usually that wouldn't be an issue for those two. They'd have picked up
Yeah,
on someone
yeah.
tracking, but they're so lost in their conversation that ultimately, they end up someone getting the jump on them.
Yeah. So Joe wakes up in hospital. Marlene says that they're preparing Ellie for surgery because they want to extract samples of her brain to study her immunity to cordyceps.
Mm.
And basically, the idea is that they think that they can get something from it and then make a cure from it. And at that
Very
point,
similar to like the World War Z kind of
yeah,
approach,
yeah,
which I
yeah.
quite liked, is the idea of, mind you, I don't, is it? Because you see, have you seen infected still attacking her? Yeah, they've still attacked her.
Mm.
So
They've still
they're
gone
not
for it.
blind
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so maybe that doesn't work. Or maybe I've
Um,
just misunderstood it. But
well, but then,
I'm
so
going to
then,
watch it again with Georgia, so maybe I'll.
yeah,
But like the way yeah, so it's effectively there's a loophole in it, and the cordyceps has been tricked into thinking she's already infected.
mm,
But then they're not killing each other. Yeah, I need to because because they're not ripping each other apart. So they
true.
so they're not being tricked into thinking she's infected. So
Well,
I
and
imagine.
that goes back to that thing about them almost being like a hive mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't think it's that. I think I've just misunderstood it because Druckmann's not an idiot. He won't have rewritten that deliberately to have done
yeah,
it to completely balked it,
yeah,
especially this late in the game.
yeah. Um, so Joel basically says, "I'm not going to let you do that,"
Hmm.
and then they sort of take him away to sort of lead him off, and
I didn't like how aggressive the Fireflies were from the get go.
yeah,
So like
because I think
maybe it's because I've got that knowledge of it, but as soon as Joel woke up, it was bad. Like the game did a really good job of you wake up, Joel wakes up, Marlene's there, and it's quite a nice atmosphere, and then it slowly,
because they're thinking that he's going to be on side,
yeah,
and then when he's not, they're a bit like, "Oh, so you're going to stop the entire thing that we're sort of
yeah,
we've been
but
leading to."
it's that, but it grows all over the brain, which
Yeah,
Pedro does very well.
yeah,
But that's the turning point. Whereas here, it's already like
they're a
like from the
bit,
get,
yeah.
and I didn't quite like that because I don't know, like it
I
just
don't. I wonder if the Fireflies have had as much presence in the show as they had in the game.
mm,
In that, I think that this icon, this logo, is so prolific in the game that you're seeing it everywhere. And actually, in the series, I don't think I've seen it as much as I would have assumed we would have done. I think maybe if it might have made more sense if Kathleen was a Firefly leader from another point rather than just being an extra additional resistance or whatever it was.
yeah. I mean, the implications there, but you don't see Firefly logos on them,
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean,
I
that
just
would I don't know why you don't do that because that would have been quite easy
yeah.
to give them that, and you could have even had like the reference to like because I swear one of the collectibles is like dog tags for the Fireflies, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like all through the first game you collect dog tags for the Fireflies.
Which
Yeah.
are probably actually the developers in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that would have like and that would have been an opportunity. So I don't know why they didn't do that.
Mm,
But then it's Joel just slowly walking, and we all know what he's going to do, and anyone with a brain can probably figure out what he's going to do.
yeah.
In the game, you can sneak the entire thing, though, can't you?
You can yes, it's difficult, but you can do.
You can sneak
Yeah.
the
So
entire thing.
yeah, basically in the game he's in a certain position in the hospital, and they just get wind that they need to sort of send everyone that they've got towards where Joel is.
Mm.
And I mean, both times that I've done it, I've just gone balls to the wall and killed everybody.
Mm.
But that you can sneak it, but it's difficult. And basically, because I think sometimes the game is that as soon as you get to a door and press the right button to get you through the door, you're then not bothered by the people who were in that last bit, essentially.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
there's like checkpoints where you get through a door and you can. There's like a cutscene, isn't it, where you turn it,
yeah,
turn around, close it,
yeah,
almost lock it, and you can
yeah,
hear knocking on there. But
yeah. So I really enjoyed how they did this because it's basically Joel taking a round of ammunition with him and then running out of bullets with that gun, so then going down and swapping with another gun and literally killing everybody in his path. Like not
everyone, every,
everyone.
and this is
Like
the bit, like especially compared to before, because I get him like killing the people who have got him,
Yeah.
because the rough hours him a bit and he's got to get away. Mind you, doesn't he interrogate one of them briefly? When he says, I don't have time for this, he shoots him again in the stomach to be like, do this before you die, or I will like prolong your
Yeah,
suffering.
yeah. There's a point where like one of them says something extra, and he get that's where you get the I don't have time for this line, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. So there is there is again a sort of an allusion to him almost doing that sort of two-person. You tell me where he is, and if he says the same thing, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, it ends up just being a bit of a massacre, to be honest.
It just
Um,
murders everyone. And
but
then
the one that I loved, I say loved, the one that I enjoyed was when he goes into the operating theatre and he's got the gun at him, and then the doctor sort of picks up his little scalpel and goes, "I won't let you take her," and Joe just goes, "Bang!" Like
there's
I'm
barely
not
even a
interested.
beat.
There's not. It's just bang,
Just
gone.
straight
Like
away. He almost
yeah,
like I'm almost surprised they let him finish the sentence.
yeah, just gone, just gone. And I'm more
Can you get
surprised
a
that
you have to kill him in the game at least, don't you?
yeah, I'm
The one
more
who gets the scalp.
surprised knowing what we end up knowing that they didn't give him more of a character development. The Doctor,
They did linger on him though.
they did linger on him.
They did linger on him. Like I know, like knowing what I know as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like I did notice it's like, oh, they're lingering on him for the
Like
TV crowd who don't know the
we're
games.
gonna we're gonna go back to this scene in season two.
This is going to be a flashback,
Oh
and maybe that's
dear.
where he gets his character development.
Oh
Do you
dear.
actually see him in The Last of Us Part Two at all?
Yeah.
In flashbacks?
The dot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Like
Are
that
you
makes
not?
sense.
Are you? You
I
sure you've
know
seen?
who the Doctor is and who he's related to in that relationship.
Yeah.
I like I said, as far up as I've got, it was ages ago when I saw it, so I've forgotten a lot of it.
As it's. Have you? Did you get to the point where you start Abby's side of the story?
So I've seen Abby breaking into the complex,
Yeah.
using a golf club,
Yeah.
her people pinning down,
Yeah.
bang, get rid,
Yeah.
picking up. I'm gonna go after them. Dina, I'm coming with you. There's a
Yeah.
horse. Oh, there's
And then
people.
playing as Ellie. But did you ever get to a point where you were playing as Abby?
Not again.
Right. Okay.
Not again.
Okay.
Like I said, the last point I remember was dun dun dun. Dina's pregnant,
Yeah. Fair enough. Right.
which I
Okay.
think is quite early on. If
It is quite early on because
I
the
mean,
way
I know I need to go back and watch it. I just
I feel like I think I did say this to you is that I feel like season two. I definitely said it to Matthew, my brother-in-law. Season two could be split into three seasons, or part two could be split
well, because
into
it's
three
that
seasons.
massive.
Yeah, because you have an Ellie season, you have an Abby season, and then you have a season which is basically after the events of those two coming together, and then you move. Yeah,
Mm. You
yeah.
think the Abby actress, whoever they cast, is going to be ready for the needless hate?
Well, I mean, she'll be jacked, so it don't,
I know. Yeah.
don't
Oh
matter.
God, you can't look like. To this day, I don't understand it. It genuinely sounds like a bunch of people cry arsing
It is. It's
about.
people going, I can't get muscles, but she can, so I'm, you
No,
know,
but not just that as well, because people were complaining about the story as well, and like
no,
really
just
going like, is
get
it
a
just because
grip.
it wasn't as good as the first one? Because that's not fair.
Well, this is the thing. I think there was only so much you could do with Ellie again, so then naturally you need to bring in. This is reminding me of Scream, so I apologize to anyone who's not yet seen Scream 6 in case I say something that's going to be a spoiler here. But I saw Scream 6 yesterday, and naturally, the family of the people that you've just killed in the other one are naturally going to come back and be pissed off about the fact that you've killed the family in the other one. So, like, it's
Sure.
just going to be a thing,
Mm.
you know? Like, unless part three for The Last of Us is going to end up being Dina's brother because you've peed her off, like,
Mm.
you know. So the moral then, I suppose you
Picks up
could call it
Ellie.
the moral.
Yeah.
We save Ellie. Joe drives away. I like how they cut the Marlene scene. in
Yeah.
that we see the conversation, we go to the car, you're not sure what's happened there. Basically, this boils down to Joel saved Ellie because he wanted to save Ellie. He didn't want her to die, but he's not going to tell Ellie that. He's not going to tell her that he pulled her out. He's going to say
Yeah.
basically, it just didn't work.
As Marlene called it, if you asked Ellie to make the choice, you know what she'd do.
And
But Marlene is equally scummy because if Marlene's so sure of her convictions, she'd have told Ellie from the offset, this is going to
yeah,
kill you.
yeah. So basically, you're looking at, are you the side of Ellie should have been left there to potentially have make a cure if possible,
100% George's. Well,
or
that's the thing. That's the thing as well. There's no certainty. Like even if the surgery is a success, there's no certainty.
are you Joel's side where you go and save Ellie? I'm with Joel.
I'm also like, I find it odd that Ellie is the only one of her kind now that we have the explanation. This is one advantage that the game has. Like, you have no idea
I
why.
suppose it would be a rare thing for another pregnant woman to be bitten as she's
Would it?
giving birth.
Would it really? Like, laws of probability, the fact that there's one
oh,
on
you know
the
what?
entire planet ever, because it
It's
doesn't, it doesn't, you
I
know what I mean?
suppose
Like,
it's a bit Emily Blunt in the bath in a quiet place, isn't it? That if
yeah,
she's giving birth,
she's going to be attracting a
she's
bunch of
going to
infections. Like,
attract.
it's just whether she survives, I guess, is the difference. But then you
Yeah,
could have, like, as you know, as horrific as it is, you just take a pregnant woman, get a bit right as she's in labor, and then
that's
the
the next
baby's a
step for
new.
the Fireflies. Who's willing to take a bullet for the team? Who's going to get pregnant? And then when in 9 months' time we're going to have you be bitten, just save humanity. You know,
Maybe,
you know,
maybe, not definitely, maybe.
we'll do
But
your
it's just,
statue.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's not unfeasible that someone else could have gone for it because the way Marlene talks about it is like, yeah, there's no one else. It's like, are you sure about that?
Well, I mean, they can't be, can they? Because they're only there's no one else of what she's aware of.
Mm.
We don't know what's happening in other parts of the country. They don't know what's happening in other parts of the country, worldwide, you know. But I think it's that idea, in it, of like if we can be the people that have managed to put all of these things together and find a cure, we've saved the world.
I'm telling you, Scholl, bit of antifungal,
There you go.
just
Don't let that run out.
roll on, and everything. Chuck
Yeah.
it in the bloater's mouth before he tears your jaw off. You'll be fine.
Jesus Christ. So then, end of season. Happy with season?
Hey, we're forgetting that beautiful scene at the end as
Oh,
well.
they have a nice chat in a
No, but it's important because, like, you get the set. Like, it's very obvious that. I mean, I think the game actually does a better job of it than the show.
mm,
But in the game, I remember especially like she's saying, Ellie says to it, "Swear to me that the stuff with the fireflies is
yeah,
true."
yeah.
And Joel like breaks, and
It's
the way he says, "I swear it," is a little too, and you can tell Ellie doesn't believe him quite, but she's not going to come out and say it.
yeah.
But
It's
you
I
can
tell you
tell,
what, it's very dodgy ground with part two in certain parts.
mm,
Well, like the relationship between Joel and Ellie begins to be frayed a little bit.
and well, that's.
And
I
it
remember
yeah.
there's two flashbacks I remember as well. So there's one where he takes her to the museum,
Yes. Lovely.
and there's
Lovely.
one a bit later, and Joel actually like snaps at Ellie. It's like, how many times are we going to go over this? I've told
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And that's what, because you can tell, like from the opening of Last of Us Part Two, there is a tension between Joel and Ellie, and you don't know whether it is just that standard. Because how old is Ellie? Is it like 17, 18?
Yeah, I think it's possibly 19, I want to
Oh,
say.
is it 5 years after? Because she's 14 in the first one,
Let's
isn't
have a
she?
look. So
I
Ellie,
think you're
Ellie,
right. I
Ellie,
think she's
Ellie, Ellie.
19.
Right, she is 14 in the first one, 19 in the second one. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
So you don't know whether it is just that kind of like teenage young adult angst, or
yeah,
but you can guess from that it is she's felt a bit betrayed, but then she's decided to go along with it because of everything else between
yeah.
them, and it's just not the same anymore. So yeah, that's that's why they end it there. Like,
Mm,
not sure if I like because doesn't the game give you a bit of a pan outwards after she says okay? I swear
yeah.
the game ends like it doesn't just cut straight to black after she says okay. I swear.
No, it doesn't. It
But
doesn't. Because this is such an abrupt ending.
yeah, like
You know.
it's almost The Sopranos.
Oh, but yeah, I'm right. So then, season happy? Yes.
I'm going to have a look now,
Oh, here
very
we go.
quickly, at Once Upon a Time. Whilst incredibly hungover, we did top 10 dramas, if you'll
Yars,
remember.
yars, we did. Yars, yars.
And I'm going to see where I think it lands on this. See,
So,
I'm
if
already looking at this and thinking, Jesus, but like Snowpiercer, what's that doing there? It shouldn't be in there. Better Call Saul needs to be way higher because I've now finished it. It was incredible.
if I think about mine,
I reckon it comes in at third.
so mine was Supernatural,
Yeah.
Dexter,
Mm.
and then Mando, I think.
Yeah, I remember we both had Mando at three.
I would go. That's tough because I'm now getting into nostalgia territory, where I'm like, for everything that Supernatural is and was, could I say that this 9 episode arc is better than the 15 seasons of Supernatural that were very formative to me?
I mean, if it was good, it was good. Because I don't really have anything to say on Superdad because I'm not. I know about the Winchesters. I love me some Jensen Ackles.
Mm,
I love the chemistry between those two. And there's a bit where I've seen like Jensen just scream like "son of a bitch," and Sam. You can see that he has to look away from him because
yeah,
he's about
yeah.
to burst out laughing, and that's like the final edit, which I love it when they make it into it.
Um,
Um,
I'd say definitely higher than Mando.
Thing is, now that I've got this on here, I think Mando would be just how it's gone. Like, it's still great, but I
And
do
then
think I
I'd
was a bit
go,
overzealous putting Mando ahead of like Breaking Bad.
I think I'd maybe sneak it in at 2, maybe higher than Dexter. And
See,
then
I
I'd be
don't think it makes
worried.
number two for me because my number one is Chernobyl,
Yeah,
and I think I do prefer Chernobyl to this.
right, okay.
And my second one is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which it's
Is that
not.
that's your formative?
No, it's not. This was
Oh, have you
what
gone
this.
back to it?
Yeah, it's Avatar: The Last Airbender was not something I watched as a kid. It's one of those talk about it all the time. Things Georgia made me watch. I was like, oh, can I be
Ah,
bothered?
right, okay. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that was the first one where she was like, I think I really like this. It's nice and magical. Da, da, da. And I think I had just the idea of the film in my
yeah.
head, the Shyamalan film,
Hmm.
and it just being like, oh, God, no, really. But I watched it. I fell in love with it. It's just what I'm like for cartoons that can get important and complicated stuff across to kids.
Yeah.
And it was just really good that this is like effectively a Saturday morning kids cartoon, but the villains, all the Fire Nation soldiers, they weren't all evil. Some of them were just normal blokes. And
Mm.
some of the people that weren't Fire Nation were just as bad, if not worse, than the Fire Nation. Like, it was really complicated and yet really simple to follow for a kid. It was amazing. So, but yeah, and like BoJack
Mm.
Horseman, Attack on Titans got even better. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this would be a very different list now. But I'm saying Last of Us would make
But it's
part
very, very,
three.
yeah.
Part three. It's easily top 10, easily top five. It's been brilliant. And
It
it'd
has
be probably number one on video game adaptations.
100%.
Like,
There's nothing else that touches this.
Like the only stuff that kind of comes close is silly stuff like Sonic 2 and Detective
Yeah.
Pikachu.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
all the other stuff is stuff that's like guilty pleasures, like Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Like that's a bit of a guilty pleasure, and yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
there's nothing that
absolutely
sticks out
fantastic.
that sort of, yeah.
It is absolutely fantastic. All the cast are brilliant. All the shots are great. The way they've evoked the game in
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is great. Like, I'd be curious to listen back to what you were talking about with the tape and see if that is the same of Joel's crafting sound. Because
Yeah, yeah.
if it is, that's amazing. And if it's not, I'll be very sad.
I honestly, I don't know if it was just because I was playing it at the time, but when I heard it in the episode, I was like, "Oh, they're using this. They're using this." Yeah, yeah,
It was
right. Yeah,
very good.
I
It was.
loved it.
Mm,
Amy loved it.
I think Georgia will like it. I don't know. Like Georgia's tastes are like hard to predict a lot of the time, but the
Yeah,
bits that she said, mind you, she was like, she was in and out a lot, and obviously it's the final episode. Just like, I bet you've heard loads of spoilers, and she's like, well, I've got no investment at this point, so I don't
right.
know what
Okay.
stuff could be referring to.
Yeah.
But it
I
is a
th
bit like I don't know.
I tell you what, right? I don't know if it's coming, but online retailers like Amazon or Zavvi or whatever it ends up being, if you do some kind of 4K collector's edition box set of this, you'll have me hook, line, and sinker.
Mm,
Like I'll be there instantly, just because I'm that kind of person.
indeed,
Uh,
you love a disc, don't
I
you?
love a disc. I love a nice, pretty box set. You know, with some extra things. I love the word exclusive. I'm a marketing man's dream, is what I am. You give me the word exclusive, and you say exclusive pin, like for example, right? And it wasn't expensive. So I got a Bride of Frankenstein
Mm.
1,000 piece jigsaw, right?
Jesus.
Now it was a tenner on Zavvi, yeah. It said, and this is probably the only reason why I got it. It said it was exclusive, it was limited edition and numbered. Only 100 of them were made, right? And the RRP was 100 quid.
You
So I
must be the
thought,
easiest guy to upsell
oh, definitely, definitely. And I thought I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I was like, yeah, that's a bargain. That I don't know if it is. I don't know if it was ever sold for 100 quid. I don't know if there's actually 100 of them. Well, I mean, they're still in stock. They can't be that hard. Anyway, right. So that's it for The Last of Us. We're gonna have to wait for something else to come around for me and Ollie to do weekly reactions. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Actually, I was gonna say I don't know what I'm gonna do in my Monday evening next week, but I'm now going on the Alton Towers trip, so I'm assuming I'll still be there on a coach on the way back. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing next Monday.
Oh,
So
God.
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. This has been us. This has been The Last of Us.
This is the last of us you'll
This is
see
The
for a
Last of
while.
Us. It probably will be The Last of Us you'll see for because I tell you what, after this and Manif coverage, I'm gonna lie down for a bit, I think. And you'll just have to put up with. You know what? I reckon the next thing that's going to be after this and after all the Manif stuff's done,
Is
give
the
it a good.
baby announcement. This
Well,
is the new one.
me and Ruby are going to go and watch Super Mario, so
Oh,
that's what the
God.
next one will be.
Right. Have you watched Kung Fu Panda with her yet?
No.
Do that. Kung Fu
Okay.
Panda, Kung Fu Panda 2 is great.
Fine. I tell
Both
you
of them.
know, you know what she does want to watch?
What?
Mandalorian.
I
So
don't care.
maybe we go back we go back to Mandalorian and me and Ruby do some short reviews on Mandalorian.
Mm.
And you know, I've salvaged as well, right? This is definitely going off tangent because I was saying bye a minute ago. The desk. This is what I mean. Look at my elbow space in this cupboard, right? The desk in the room where I'd used to do all this kind of stuff,
Mm.
salvaged. It's going into Ruby's room. So
Oh.
now, when we do our reviews, me and her together, we're going to be in her room, and she's loving
So
that.
she's going to have a better setup than you.
Yes, yes, she is. Get her a boom mic and everything. Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
She's gonna have
Yeah.
one of those spotlights behind it. Perfectly gives you the lighting on your face.
Yeah. So because she's a big famous YouTuber, as she thinks. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Right. Bye guys. We'll see you soon-ish, maybe.
It's been emotional.
Been emotional. Bye bye.